Didn't know what time it was and the lights were low. Oh, oh. I leaned back on my radio. Oh, oh. Some cat was laying down some rock and roll, lot of soul, he said. Then the loud sound, it seemed to fade. Came back like a slow voice on a wave of phase. That was no DJ, that was hazy cosmic jive.
Howdy folks, this is Dan Gross for the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight and Three Heads Brewing. Today I'm sitting down at the Resident for February 2019. Mr. Alan Murphy, or Al, as he's known around here. As you saw, he's a great singer, guitarist. He's also a great piano player as well. Singer, songwriter, list goes on. And you've probably seen him before. He's a very frequent performer here at the brewery for all the residency shows. So Al, thanks for your time, man.
Thanks, Dan.
Really appreciate it. Thanks
Absolutely.
for coming on. Let's start off nice and easy. Are you a Rochester native?
No, I grew up in Middleville, New York, 7 miles north of Herkimer. It's on the Thruway. Look it up.
Okay. How'd you find your way to Rochester?
I went to Eastman School of Music for a music education degree, and I've stayed. I've stayed on, yeah.
All right, sounds good. We'll come back to your Eastman experience a bit. But when you were growing up, what were some things that you were listening to that like inspired you to play instruments, like, or you would consider influences now?
Well, this is going to tie right into my residency. So
Excellent.
I know. Plus,
Right on.
so my brother was a big music enthusiast, and so he, he was the first person that basically led me to be like, music is important. You know, you got to listen to this album. You got to da. So he was a huge Bob Dylan fan, and when I was 9 or 10, he gave me a tape. He lent me a tape of Bob Dylan live at Budokan, and I believe he gave me a tape of Blood on the Tracks, which is an album I'm covering on Valentine's Day.
And we'll get to the full breakdown of that, but that's a tease for you coming up later in the interview.
That's right. And then I started playing piano when I was about 9 years old, and I continued to play piano, and that's taken me a lot of places.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when did you first learn to sing? When did you first know you could sing?
I feel like I always sang, but I don't know. I was singing in chorus all the way from elementary school through college, and then I was writing songs when I was in high school, and maybe younger than that. And so I think I just always sang the songs that I was listening to.
Right.
And I was always imitating as well.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of me. Just records, Yeah, records. That's like another conversation. But yeah, I'm glad that we're doing
Records.
albums because what is an album now? It's like, well, we have hundreds of people that come out to acknowledge the importance of albums still. So
It's incredibly important.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff Dale.
Jeff is always off camera here on the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight. Even when
He's right there.
He's the mayor of Smugglerville, right there. If only we could lower this a little bit. We'll get it in post. That's fine. So when did you first get serious about songwriting?
I started to think that I could maybe do it when I was in college. I was trying, and it was like, oh, that's not bad. And then, so I think it's like layers of the onion. I still think I'm getting serious about songwriting because there's ideas that come to me that I think are good and they're good songs, but studying this Dylan record and studying how every line is just like a world unto itself. It makes me say okay, I still need to get serious about songwriting. because of somebody like that.
Yeah. It's a process.
It's a lifelong process. Yeah.
Talk to us about your experience at Eastman School of Music. That must have really introduced you to the world that is the music scene here.
The music scene in Rochester was very different when I was there, but Eastman was a great place for me because as an education major too, there was less pressure for me to be a performer. I think people that are performance majors have a lot of pressure on them every day, and I was practicing, but not like them.
Right, you weren't spending hours on one measure.
That's right. Well, maybe I probably did.
But without the pressure.
Without the pressure.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just internal pressure, but So
It was a good experience for you.
it was a good experience, and with an education degree, you learn how to conduct and to arrange, and there's a lot of electives offered there. So Eastman was it was a great place for me to be. There's a jazz program there, so I got a little bit of everything, and I had a friend, Dan Kuntz, who was there at the time, and he was somebody I met very early on, and he was also into writing songs and rock and roll and soul music, and so he was a good person to hang out with during that time, and it sort of like started to solidify the thread that I would continue to follow.
Right.
Yeah.
And now you're a piano player, playing now with Silver Arrow Band all the time. You have your own projects, working with all these other people. So before we get into the residencies, like what you're doing, and of course we'll talk about Mighty High and Dry, your band, your centerpiece group. You've been in so many residency shows here, both from like people's own personal projects to the big album tribute shows. What does it mean to you to be so involved in what Three Heads is doing here? I think you've been in almost every single month. What does that mean to you?
It's been a great year. 2018 was a great year. You got to come to the residency program shows all year round, okay? So I got to play with Fran Broderick when he did Excitable Boy last year, and I like the fact that people do albums, and there's always an audience for these albums, because even if you're doing something that's a little, like Zevon, a lot of people know about him, but he's not as big as, whatever, a Zeppelin tribute,
The
or
Beatles.
the Beatles. That's right. So it's great to acknowledge these artists, and I played with Fran, and then in May I played with Kurt Johnson, who was doing an Allman Brothers tribute, and that was fantastic. And we've actually been able to continue. We've done a few more shows with that group, which was a fantastic group, and did a Santana tribute with Matt Rammerman in the fall, and that was more fun than I deserve to have. but I want to do it again.
Yeah.
And then I was with Sam Snyder doing the White Album, and my God, I've always wanted to do that album. It's one of my favorite records, and so to really dig into that record and do it was so rewarding. Yeah, so this residency program is great, and I feel like it's a good opportunity for artists to learn some music that they haven't maybe wouldn't have learned, and then it's also a good way for the community to get to know the different artists that are here. And so that's what I hope to do. Every one of the tributes that I'm doing 3 albums in February.
Cool. And with that, let's just go right down the line. The first thing is the first album, February.
But wait
7th.
a minute. For every one of the albums, I'm going to also have some original music
Awesome.
weaved into the night.
Right.
Okay. So
Original music is very important as well. So it's cool that you're doing that, because that's something like people come out, they see these shows, they see the amazing musicians, and it's like, oh wait, pretty much all of these cats do original music as well that you can find every week here in Rochester. So that's really important, Al. I'm glad you're doing that. First show, February 7th, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars.
Yes.
This is a powerhouse band. It's you, Chris Potter, and then Michaela Davis. Holy moly, she's coming to the Three Heads stage with her band as well. The cats who tour with her. So why don't you tell us about this show?
Alex Cote, Kian and Shane McCarthy, the brothers McCarthy.
The Brothers McCarthy, that's
Okay.
it.
So anyway, we had a rehearsal. It's gonna be great. That album that's an album that my brother didn't turn me on to. I knew about Bowie from classic rock radio, but I found that, I think, during college or after college, and I was like, oh, this is a great record. And a cool thing about that record too is that it's like very it's based on sort of futurism. It's got sci-fi sort of mentality, and it's a concept record, but it's every song has the acoustic guitar on it, so you can strip everything down to the idea of singer-songwriter. What's a song? Every one of those songs can be just performed with a guitar. It's a fantastic record.
And that's why you did it to start the video.
That is why. Yeah.
That's exactly why. It's like we planned this or something.
There's a starman
Exactly.
waiting in the sky.
Why did you want to pick? Why did you pick the group of musicians you did to play with you? Because I know you've played with Michaela before. It's actually documented on video that you've played with Michaela before. But why did you want to play with?
We have proof.
Michaela in the band?
Well, you know what? I actually had initially. I'm so glad that Michaela is doing it. I first was going to have the band that I played with for the White Album.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to do it, and then those guys, or a bunch of those guys, are in Mayberg, so they couldn't do it. And then I was like, well, you know, Michaela can play piano pretty well. I was thinking about who I could get to play piano. So even when I was thinking about those guys, I was thinking, well, maybe Michaela can play. And she was down, and then it turned out that I needed more people.
Right.
And so Michaela's playing, and also I needed a rock god on guitar, like
and
a
that
guitar
would be Chris
god.
Potter.
That's Chris Potter, exactly. So we're gonna have so much fun with that, getting into the gear, and we're gonna glam up as well.
Ooh.
Yeah. We're gonna glam up.
I
don't
literally
know
cannot wait anymore.
I don't know what I'm gonna look. Yeah. So anyway, it's going to be a process. Yeah.
We're all going to find out together. And then the next week, February.
You're invited to glam up as well if you come out.
Oh, that'd be fun.
And maybe like Susan B. Anthony in glam, Suffragette City theme, something. Anyway,
Please, someone do that. That would be amazing. Moving on to the following week, it's actually Valentine's Day.
Yes.
You're doing Blood on the Tracks featuring Kurt Johnson, Justin Rister, Matt Bevan Perkins, and Zahia is going to be singing as well for couples.
That's right. And Fran Broderick is going to be singing Rosemary Lily and the Jack of Hearts.
It's like you've planned this out
15 verses, yeah.
All 50. I see why you had Fran do that
Yeah,
one
that's
now.
right.
Tell us about that show.
Well, that is like I said, that's a record that my brother gave me when I was, 10 or so. And so I've always known that record. And I don't know, I think figuring out this residency is a little bit of a process. There's ideas that come to you, and then some of them, they stick with you, and then some of them don't. And when I realized that we were doing, that we had to fill Valentine's Day, it's like, well, which way should we go on this? And it just made sense that there'd be a lot of people that care about this record, Blood on the Tracks, classic Dylan record. And it's about love, it's the bitter-sweet angle of it. So there's both in that record. And then I figured, well, let's do some soul music too, and like some true music about love and all the positive parts.
Yeah.
So Zahia is going to come and sing with me on that, and I'm going to be singing an Al Green song. We're going to be doing some Motown. We got a duet or two planned, so it's going to be fun.
That's perfect. The bittersweet angle. You get like the real stuff, and then you get the feel good stuff at the end.
That's right. And there may be. We're hoping that we can get some chocolate with the beer on that night as well. We'll see.
That would be pretty cool.
We
Never pass up some chocolate.
Yeah. Me neither.
And then the following week, February 21st, you're doing the first Doors album, self-titled The Doors, featuring Alex Cote, Kyle Vach, Willie O'Reilly, Chris Potter, and Kurt Johnson, another powerhouse group. Tell us about this one.
I knew early on that I wanted to do this one. This album, I think this ties back to my brother again, my brother Fran. So we were, I think it was Christmas, probably 2012 or 2013. No, I got to go back further. I was 12 or 13.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, I was 12 or 13. So I think somebody gave him the first Doors album, and it was playing, and it was like Break On Through came on, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. And then my brother was being wild, and he jumped out the first floor window of our house into the snow, and my mom didn't like that, but it was like, wow, there's something to this.
It was
there's
rock and
something
roll,
to this
man.
record. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's something to this music. So, hi, Mom. Hi, Fran. And so it's an incredible album. And through high school, that was my favorite group. I got all the Doors records, and I'm so excited to just be singing for that record, for the most part.
Very cool. And then wrapping up the final night of your residency, February 28th, Mighty High and Dry Assembly. So, I didn't mention this earlier, if fans of the Spotlight, this thing we're doing, recognize Alan also, it's because the Mighty High and Dry are actually the first guest in season 4 of the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight. That was our first Friday show at Bernunzio Uptown Music, and that was a lot of fun. That was the string band version. We got a nice chance to talk with Alan, a couple familiar faces at that show as well. So why don't you tell us about Mighty High and Dry and then the assembly version of Mighty High and Dry?
The Mighty High and Dry has been around since about, let's say, 2011, and we started recording my songs then. Kyle Vach is my buddy and the bass player in that group, and we've written some songs together, and we had Chris Teal and Mike Frederick in the band back when we started, and those guys moved out of town. And now
Quintupus shout out, by the way.
Quintupus, yeah. Hey, Quintupus.
We miss you.
Yeah, and then when those guys left town, Eric Caterly and Alex Cote joined the group, and it became we carried on with some of the material from that first group, but we ended up actually kind of recreating the band, and then later on, I'd been chomping at the bit for years to do soul music, or just to have a group that had horns in it and female vocalists. And so at some point, actually it's almost 2 years ago, we really made the decision to expand the band, and it's been a lot of fun. We're going to be doing it more and more this year. So we've got a horn section, and not exactly sure who's going to be, I believe Abby Celso is going to be singing with us in February 28th, and I need to look into what other ladies are going to be with us, and
We'll make it work.
It's going to work out. We got the Mighty High and Dry Assembly, and we're adding more songs for that. If you haven't seen us, if you've seen us, you've probably seen us at Lux, and
Read my mind.
Squeezing into that little stage there, but it's always an amazing time.
Right, and now you have a little bit more room on this stage.
We'll stretch out. Yeah, and we'll hopefully pack it out as well. So
it's going to be a lot of fun. Well, that was it. We covered all the shows, but let's recap them one more time to make sure we know all of them. February 7th, Rise and Fall of Ziggy, Stardust, and the Spiders from Mars. February 14th, Valentine's Day, Blood on the Tracks. Then we got a little soul set for the lovers who want a little something sweet after the bitter stories. February 21st, the first Doors album known as The Doors, and then February 28th, Mighty High and Dry Assembly. I'm Dan Gross. This is Alan Murphy, the Rochester resident for February 2019, and we hope to see you every Thursday at Three Heads Brewing.
okay. I've seen love go by my door, never been this close before, never been so easy or so slow. I've been shooting in the dark too long. When something's not right, it's wrong. You're gonna make me lonesome when you go. Dragging clouds so high above, I've only known careless love. It always has hit me from below, but this time around it's more correct. Right on target, so direct. You're gonna make me lonesome when you go. Purple clover and queen anne lace, crimson hair all across your face. You can make me cry if you don't know. Can't remember what I was thinking of. You might be spoiling me too much love. You're gonna make me lonesome when you go. Flowers on the hillside going crazy, crickets talking back and forth and round. The river running slow and lazy. I could stay with you forever and never realize the time. Situations have ended sad, relationships have all been bad. Kinda like Lanes and Rambo, but there's no way I can compare all them scenes to this affair. You're gonna make me lonesome when you go. You're gonna make me wonder what I'm doing, staying far behind without you. You're gonna make me wonder what I'm saying, You're gonna make me give myself a good talking to. But I look for you in old Honolulu, in San Francisco, in Ashtabula. Gonna have to leave me now, I know. But I look for you in the sky above, the tall grass and the ones I love. You're gonna make me lonesome when you go.